Most people will scroll past this video without even noticing. They won't ask if they're truly in control of their mind, their reactions, or their life. But if you pause, if you stay with me for the next few minutes, you might realize something important. This is about you, not the distracted crowd, not the ones chasing validation or letting chaos drive them. If you continue, you'll see whether you carry rare traits of self-mastery, the kind of control Marcus Aurelius forged, the calm the samurai cultivated, the discipline few ever reach. And here's a quiet truth. If you scroll now, you likely move like everyone else. If you stay and listen, you may discover you're already different. Stay until the end of the video to confirm you possess all the traits we are going to explore. By the end, you'll know whether you're one of the few who quietly live by their own code, and if you are truly one of the extremely rare personalities with Marcus Aurelius level self-control. Let's begin. Most people live reactively, pulled by emotion, shaken by criticism, inflated by praise and broken by inconvenience. Their mood is controlled by circumstances. Their identity is fragile because it depends on external approval. You're here because you are different. You don't want noise, just mastery of yourself. Marcus Aurelius ruled the most powerful empire on earth during one of its most chaotic periods. War on multiple frontiers, a devastating plague, political betrayal, personal loss. Yet when you read his private journal, what we now call Meditations, you don't find panic, you don't find rage, you don't find self-pity, you find discipline. You find a man constantly reminding himself to stay steady. If you recognize these traits in yourself, understand something. You are operating at a level most never reach. The first sign of rare control is this: you pause before you react. When insulted, you don't explode. When challenged, you don't immediately defend. When provoked, you don't rush to prove yourself. Marcus wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." That sentence alone separates the rare from the reactive. Modern psychology backs this up. The ability to delay reaction, what researchers call impulse control, is one of the strongest predictors of long-term success, leadership, and emotional stability. It's linked to higher resilience, better relationships, and stronger decision-making. But beyond research, it's visible. When someone speaks sharply to you and you remain calm, people notice. When tension rises and your breathing stays steady, people feel it. When chaos spreads and you don't join it, you stand apart. Most people are ruled by stimulus and response. You've learned to insert space between them. That space is power. The second sign is that you do not crumble under disrespect. When the general Avidius Cassius betrayed Marcus Aurelius and declared himself emperor, Rome expected fury. They expected spectacle. When Cassius was killed and his severed head offered to Marcus, he refused to look at it. He would not indulge hatred. He would not feed ego. He wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Think about that level of control. Betrayed by a trusted commander, publicly challenged, and yet he chose composure over vindication. If you've reached the point where you no longer feel the need to retaliate at every slight, where you don't burn energy defending your image, where you can let small disrespect pass without internal collapse, that is rare. Most people are addicted to defending their ego. You've begun to outgrow it. The third sign is that you don't complain, even when things are genuinely difficult. This doesn't mean you don't feel frustration. It means you don't indulge it. Marcus constantly reminded himself, do not be overheard complaining, not even to yourself, not even to yourself. That's the level. During the Antonine Plague, thousands died. Resources were stretched. The empire was under strain. Yet instead of self-pity, his journal is filled with reminders of duty. Psychologically, chronic complaining reinforces helplessness. It wires the brain to look for injustice rather than opportunity. It erodes agency. But when you endure difficulty without dramatizing it, something shifts internally. You begin to see yourself as capable. If you've developed the ability to carry weight quietly, to handle stress without announcing it, to suffer without broadcasting it, that is uncommon strength. And here's what makes it even rarer. You don't do it to impress anyone. You do it because it's who you've decided to be. This is not suppression, it's selection. You are selecting your response instead of surrendering to impulse. That is Marcus-level training. And if this feels familiar, if you recognize these behaviors not as ideals but as habits you're already building, then understand something clearly. You are not operating at the default setting of society. You are training your mind. And that path has always been walked by the few. What we've covered so far is only the surface of rare control. The fourth sign you possess Marcus Aurelius level discipline is this: you act from duty, not from applause. Most people are motivated by recognition. They want credit. They want to be seen. Their effort rises and falls depending on who is watching. Marcus had absolute power. He could have indulged luxury, ego, and excess. Instead, he slept on campaign beds, worked relentlessly, and reminded himself daily that fame was fleeting. He wrote, "Ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions." That line is psychological gold. When your emotional state depends on external validation, you are fragile. You are at the mercy of public opinion, and public opinion shifts like wind. But if you've reached a point where you do the right thing even when no one notices, where you train when no one is watching, where you maintain standards even when shortcuts are available, that is internal sovereignty. In modern psychology, this is called intrinsic motivation, acting from internal values rather than external reward. It correlates with higher long-term satisfaction, resilience, and leadership capability. But philosophy understood this long before research did. The Bhagavad Gita, from a completely different tradition, echoes the same principle. You have a right to your actions, but not to the fruits of your actions. Act fully, release the result. If that resonates deeply with you, you are already detached from the shallow reward system most people chase. That detachment is rare. The fifth sign is even more uncommon. You accept loss without becoming bitter. Marcus Aurelius lost children. He lost friends. He endured betrayal. He governed through plague and endless war. Yet nowhere in Meditations do you see him collapse into cynicism. He wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." That is not poetic optimism. It is psychological reframing at the highest level. Most people interpret hardship as injustice. You interpret it as training. This is what modern cognitive behavioral therapy teaches, that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Epictetus said this nearly 2,000 years ago. If something doesn't go your way and your first instinct is not, "Why me?" but "What is this teaching me?" then you are already operating differently. You are not arguing with reality, you are adapting to it. That mindset removes suffering at its root. And here is something even deeper. The sixth sign of rare control is that you are comfortable standing alone. Marcus often reminded himself that the crowd is easily swayed. He warned against becoming like those around you if they lacked virtue. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple, direct, non-negotiable. If you have reached a place where you no longer adjust your values to fit the room, where you are willing to disagree quietly without hostility, where you can be misunderstood without panicking, you are rare. Because social pressure is one of the strongest psychological forces known. Experiments show that people will deny obvious truths just to conform. Yet if you've built enough internal clarity that you can hold your position without aggression and without insecurity, that is advanced self-governance. The samurai cultivated something similar. Fudōshin, the immovable mind. A state where external chaos does not disturb internal alignment. This is not coldness, it is steadiness. And if you've developed it, even partially, understand something clearly, you are not emotionally numb. You are emotionally trained. That distinction changes everything. Now here's the question you should quietly ask yourself. Did you learn these traits naturally, or did pain teach you? Because almost everyone who reaches this level of control earned it through pressure. Stillness without distraction. Now let me set the scene for you. Mount Fuji in winter, a perfect hush, the kind of quiet that makes every breath a bell. Snow holds the campsite in a white grip. Frost blooms on the tent lines. The air bites, then blesses. Exhale turns to silver ribbon and fades. No notifications, no mirrors. Just sky so clear the stars feel like old names you haven't said in years. The lake is glass, patient and cold, holding the mountain without a ripple. You don't need to fill the silence. You let it fill you. Being alone isn't absence, it's alignment. The spine remembers tall, the eyes soften, the mind sets like ice, calm, unbroken. Boots press a slow trail along the shore. Each step a metronome without sound. Each pause a bow to the stillness. A twig under snow. Distant wind combing the pines. The world running fine without your noise. Discipline isn't only sweat. Discipline isn't only chalk. It's choosing not to reach for distraction. It's letting the restless part of you shiver and not moving. Stars wheel, the cold steadies. You warm by doing less, by being exact with your attention. Here you don't perform, you inhabit. You keep your own company and it keeps you. Mount Fuji holds the horizon, the way you hold your center, quietly, completely. Nothing to chase, nothing to prove. This is Scene 7. Peace in solitude. If this scene resonates with you, it means you are someone who thrives on solitude and yearns for the peace of mind that comes with your own company. You truly have clarity. Most people would flee from this. Most people fear being alone with their own thoughts. They fill the silence with noise, phones, music, chatter, anything to avoid confronting themselves. But you don't. You seek it. That yearning for solitude, to sit quietly with your mind and your principles, is what separates you from the crowd. Marcus Aurelius himself wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." The Stoics taught that true power comes from mastering your internal state, not bending the world to your will. To do this, you must be willing to sit alone, to observe your impulses, to listen to your own thoughts without distraction. Even the samurai understood this. Fudōshin, the immovable mind, could not exist without moments of silence, reflection, or inner stillness. The warrior who never trains his mind in solitude is like a sword left in the sheath, rusty and untested. Your comfort in your own company, your ability to walk into silence and face yourself without fear, is evidence that you are already rare. You are practicing what most spend their entire lives avoiding, the art of being alone and fully present. Most people chase comfort, social validation, or distraction. You chase clarity, you chase alignment, you chase presence. And that is not a weakness. It is a mark of strength. It is a mark of those who will not be ruled by circumstance, who are not dependent on applause, who are quietly forging their own mastery. If you feel that pull, the one that draws you to moments like this, to silence, to reflection, know this: you are already operating on a level most will never reach. And that is why you are rare, because you have rare control of a person who can sit with themselves until the mind goes clear as winter water. If you've stayed with this video this long, that already tells me something about you. Sign 8 is the one people struggle the most with, but not you. This sign is about power and validation, two things you have no interest in. Marcus Aurelius was emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world, and yet he wrote private notes reminding himself not to be corrupted by power, not to be carried away by anger, not to be distracted by applause. He wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That line alone separates the rare from the common debate, the rare act, the common complain, the rare build, the common chase validation, the rare cultivate discipline in silence. And if you're still here, I suspect you've felt that quiet pull toward discipline, not motivation. Discipline. As someone who has spent decades training martial arts, I can tell you something that most people never understand. Hard physical training is a filter. It exposes ego. It exposes weakness. It exposes emotional instability. In the dojo, in the cage, on the mat, excuses don't survive contact. The rare ones don't train for applause. They train to master themselves. The Stoics believed the same, so did the samurai. The Stoics called it self-command. The samurai called it Fudōshin, the immovable mind, an inner state where chaos can surround you, and yet you remain centered. When I camped near Mount Fuji in winter, in freezing silence, I felt something most people never allow themselves to experience. Stillness without distraction. No noise, no phone, no validation. Just cold air, breath, and awareness. And that's when you realize something powerful. The rare ones are comfortable alone, not because they hate people, but because they are not afraid of themselves. Seneca wrote, "The greatest obstacle to living is expectancy. Most people are always waiting, waiting for the perfect time, waiting for confidence, waiting for permission. You don't wait, you move, even when you're unsure, even when it's uncomfortable. That's rare. And here's something deeper. You probably don't advertise your strength. You don't need to dominate conversations. You don't need to prove your intelligence. You don't need to win every argument. Because your confidence isn't loud. It's grounded. Like a warrior who has trained long enough that he doesn't need to show his blade." Miyamoto Musashi wrote, "The ultimate aim of martial arts is not having to use them." Read that again. True power is restrained power. The rare personality isn't aggressive, it's controlled, it's precise. It chooses when to speak, it chooses when to act, it chooses when to walk away, and that restraint, that emotional regulation. Modern psychology would call that high executive function and strong impulse control. The ancients called it virtue, and virtue is rare. Most people are ruled by impulse, by anger, by insecurity, by comparison. You've probably noticed you don't react the way others do anymore. Things that once triggered you, don't. Arguments that once consumed you, don't. Drama that once hooked you, now feels exhausting. That's growth, that's training, that's conscious self-mastery, and that is rare. But here's the paradox. Being rare doesn't mean being superior. It means being responsible. Because once you see more clearly, you can't go back to sleep. The rare ones carry weight quietly. They hold themselves to a higher standard. They expect more from themselves than anyone else does. They know discipline is freedom. And if this resonates deeply, not as ego, but as recognition, then you already know. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to build yourself into something stronger. If you're still here, that already tells me something about you. Most people would have scrolled past long ago. So here's your chance to prove it. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below that you are one of the rare ones who made it this far. Not for anyone else, for yourself. To acknowledge that you are already thinking, acting, and reflecting differently from the crowd. Good. Now that we've established that, let's move on to the next sign. Sign 9 explains that being rare is not about personality type. It's about standards. And if you truly possess these traits, your standards are different. You don't tolerate mediocrity in yourself. You feel it when you're slipping. You feel it when you've wasted time. You feel it when you've acted beneath your own code. That internal discomfort. Most people drown it out. You don't. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Simple, brutal, rare. Most people adjust their values to fit convenience. The rare personality adjusts behavior to fit values. That's why you sometimes feel alone, because your internal compass is stronger than your desire to fit in. And that comes at a cost. You've probably lost people, outgrown environments, walked away from conversations that once would have hooked you, not because you think you're better, but because you refuse to shrink. There's a difference. The samurai had a concept called Bushido, the way of the warrior. It wasn't about fighting. It was about conduct, rectitude, courage, honor, self-control. Notice something? These qualities don't trend. They don't go viral. They don't get applause. They are built quietly. And that's why so few people pursue them. When I train, whether it's striking, grappling, or conditioning, there's a moment that always comes. The moment when your lungs burn, when your body says stop, when comfort whispers, that's enough. That moment is a mirror. Most people negotiate with it. The rare ones step through it, not recklessly, not foolishly, but deliberately. That's what you do in life too. You don't run from discomfort, you use it. The Stoics practiced voluntary hardship for this reason. Cold exposure, fasting, sleeping on hard surfaces, not to suffer, but to remove fear. Because once you realize you can endure discomfort, the world loses its power to intimidate you. And here's something else about you. You think long-term. While others chase immediate validation, you're building something invisible. Skills, knowledge, character. You may not even talk about it much, but you're constructing a foundation that will compound over years. That mindset is rare in a world addicted to instant dopamine. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." You understand that instinctively. That's why you don't need overnight success. You want sustainable strength. And let's address something important. Being rare doesn't mean you don't struggle. In fact, you likely struggle more internally than most, because you hold yourself accountable. You replay conversations. You analyze your reactions. You refine. That self-awareness can feel heavy, but it's also your edge. Modern psychology tells us that metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, is a marker of high self-regulation and growth. The Stoics practice this nightly: reflection, journaling, self-audit. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Meditations not to inspire others, but to correct himself." That's rare. Most people look outward for correction. You look inward. And that inward focus builds something unshakable. Fudōshin, the immovable mind. Not because you never feel emotion, but because emotion doesn't control you. You feel anger, but you choose response. You feel fear, but you act anyway. You feel doubt, but you don't let it dictate your identity. That is controlled power, and controlled power is dangerous in the best possible way. It means when chaos hits, and it will, you won't crumble. You'll adjust. You'll breathe. You'll respond. Like a trained fighter who doesn't panic when struck. Like a leader who doesn't collapse under pressure. Like a man who knows his code. And here's the final truth. If this entire message feels like recognition rather than ego, if it feels like someone describing something you've quietly built for years, then understand this: rare doesn't mean loud. Rare doesn't mean flashy. Rare means disciplined. Rare means self-aware. Rare means accountable. Rare means you build in silence and let results speak. And if you are that kind of person, then your responsibility is simple. Keep refining, keep training, keep thinking deeply, keep holding the line when others drift, because the world does not need more noise. It needs more grounded, disciplined, self-governed individuals. And if you've watched this far, you're not common, you're intentional. And that alone puts you in a very small minority. By now, you've likely noticed a pattern. You pause before reacting. You remain calm under disrespect. You endure hardship without complaint. You seek solitude. You act from principle. And each of these traits has quietly been building something extraordinary within you. The 10th and final sign that you've reached Marcus Aurelius level control, that you are truly rare, is this. You don't just survive challenges, you use them to grow stronger. Most people see obstacles and react with frustration, blame, or despair. You, however, see them as teachers. As Marcus wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every setback, every rejection, every moment of pressure is a tool, an opportunity to sharpen your mind, your character, your discipline. History is full of examples. Consider Epictetus, born a slave, chained, powerless to change his circumstances. And yet he became a philosopher whose writings still guide millions. He did not waste energy railing against what he could not control. He used it. He transformed limitation into mastery. Or the samurai, who trained in harsh conditions, cold, hunger, exhaustion, not for glory, but to cultivate an immovable mind. Their challenges were deliberate, chosen, and refined them into warriors of rare discipline. And you, if you've watched this far, if you've nodded, reflected, recognized yourself, you've likely begun doing the same. You don't let difficulty break you. You let it forge you. You take pressure, disappointment, chaos, and turn it into composure, insight, and quiet strength. That is rare, not loud, not visible, not applauded. Rare, because most people react. Most people collapse under pressure. Most people chase comfort. You don't. You are becoming a force defined not by circumstance, but by your mastery of yourself. And that, more than anything else, separates the few from the many. If everything in this video resonated with you, if you recognized yourself in the pause before reacting, the calm under disrespect, the quiet discipline, the detachment from outcomes, and the refusal to chase approval, then understand this. This video isn't for everyone. It's not for the distracted, the reactive, the average. It's for you, the rare ones, the disciplined few, the people quietly building strength, mastery, and control while the rest of the world chases noise and validation. If that's you, the person watching, nodding silently, feeling that recognition deep down, then do this. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and comment below. Tell me you're one of the few who this video is really about. Not just to prove it to anyone else, but to affirm it to yourself. Because acknowledging your own rare strength is the first step in sharpening it even further. Remember, the world is full of the loud, the impatient, and the reactive. But you are rare. And rare minds change everything. So join us, stay disciplined, and continue building what most people will never even attempt.